Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What the Clams. A little special here of Only Clams. It is me, obviously, Clams. Um, Beautiful Friday out today. Just going to do a little reflection, man. So I am extremely excited for the next few episodes I have coming up here. I have three guests lined up that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. All three of them have great, big stories that I'm excited for them to share with you guys. A few cool things going on. I'm back in school. Stoked for that. Absolutely love the three classes I'm taking this quarter. Uh, Really having a lot of fun getting back into school. It's kind of changed my view on a lot of things. Just I don't know, getting more active in my community. So last night I chaired a meeting. In that meeting, it was fucking packed. So there was a birthday and celebrating her year, and a lot of her family showed up and stuff. We had like 50 people there. Normally we average. I switch off every Thursday with somebody else. And usually when I chair, there's roughly about 30 people, give or take. And there was like 50 people there, so it was a pretty big turnout last night. One of the things too that I was talking about reflection, as I've been going back through and listening some of my own, like I have to edit everything, I do everything myself. Going back through and listening to the episodes of the past, one of the things I noticed, it's kind of helped me reflect on how I communicate. I know that when I get excited, I drop the F bomb quite often. I mean, I've already done it in this episode once, but I'm trying to get a little bit more conscious of it because I don't really have to, I don't need to. It's also one of those things where I'm not going to like completely change who I am with that. It's just, I didn't get my point across without using every other word. Growing up, that's kind of how my uncle was. Like, you guys just kind of being around him so much, it kind of took a hold of that myself. Yeah, it's just something I've been noticing, kind of looking at. Again, I know I'm bringing this up for a second time, but I am really looking forward to kind of doing these journal reflections. I do want to wait until I hit that year point, just because at that point I've had one full year reflection. I kind of feel like that'd be just a really cool way to go back to it. The other thing that's what it was. The other thing I was going to bring up too is super excited. I was talking with one of the other fellow members in the fellowship. He was saying that he plays it in a softball league, and I was like, bro, let me see what's up with that. So this Saturday, so tomorrow actually, I go over and head out to a practice to see what's up with that. So I'm actually really excited for that. As I've said before too, man, since getting clean, I put on some weight. I've always been about like 150, 160 pounds, and I'm sitting at like 202, give or take. It is more to think though. I'm 6'2", and my my BMI says I should be around like 190 to 200. Like that's within range. I mean, like 185, 200. That is like what my range should be for a healthy weight. So at least I'm within that healthiness. It's just I definitely have noticed. I got the gut and stuff going on. So it would be nice that I'm just not somebody that's really big into like working out, man. I never have been, and I don't think I ever really will be. But I do think I need to get more active. That is something that I definitely can agree with. Even if it's not that the traditional, going to the gym, hitting the weights and stuff like that, I definitely at least want to get out there and get more active. Because when I was a kid, it was always about baseball, soccer, basketball, and then when I kind of transitioned when I was like 15 or so, after my mom passed, I leaned more into like skateboarding, and I did that like every day, all day. So I was very active doing that kind of stuff, and then just over time, man, you start having kids, you start getting into working and getting heavier into your fucking use. That's a big one. I just kind of stopped, doing any of that. So really excited to get out there with some other guys that are clean, that are being active. You get that camaraderie. You start talking shit to each other. They'll flip some shit. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be really fun. My son's also playing baseball, so that's kind of a cool thing. He's in baseball, so I get out there, and, we can go practice and stuff together. So really looking forward to it. One of the biggest things too I wanted to touch base on is so I'm finishing up the last of my English courses that I will need for my degree this year. So I'll be done with my English this year. But the class that I was kind of so the other thing was they put me into biology, which is obviously good. You got to have that intro to biology, and you got to have a basic understanding of biology. Obviously, you're going to get an AA. And I'm actually really excited for that class. The teacher's really cool. The professor, excuse me, he's I always like science professors, period, because they're kind of quirky. Oh, every single one, and I love it because they have a curious mind. They're looking at things in a scientific manner, and it's really cool because his room is covered in plants and exoskeletons, shells, and just it's very interesting. I love it. Doing labs and stuff like that. So I actually will be in school 5 days a week instead of four as before. So that's cool though. I like that. Uh, but the one class I really want to touch on, and this is the one that I honestly didn't really expect to kind of hit like this. Uh, we were kind of when I was talking with my advisor, we were trying to figure out what course I wanted to take next. And as we're kind of talking and going over it, she was throwing out some different classes I could take. Some of the ones that I wanted to take, they weren't being offered this quarter or not in person, and I'm not one to do the online courses. I mean, I could, don't get me wrong, but I really, at least in this beginning stage, especially this first year, I really want to do the face to face, the in person. I just feel like it's more personable. I get more out of it. I connect with it better. So for me, it's what works. The course that they put me into, deciding on, was intercommunications and interpersonal communication, excuse me. And I'm actually really looking forward to this class. The professor is really energetic. Actually said he used to be a voice actor, which I think is really awesome. But no, he touched on what we're going to be covering and what the point of the class is and stuff like that. And while I was in the treatment center, a lot of the things that he's talking about that we're going to focus on are what we were working on at like the end of my time and tenure at the treatment center. I actually got to go through the course in there like one and a half, almost two times fully, just because I was down to like, so they have four sections in the treatment center I was in. So you have like I don't even remember what they call it. It's kind of like you're in like the medical stage at that point. You got to be monitored heavily, and you got to go do like a blood pressure every morning. You got to do all this stuff. Well, I was in there for maybe 3 weeks up there, and then the rest of it, I spent down in what they call like PHP, which is less. You get to stay in like your own little house. You have some roommates. You can order food. You have your phone back and stuff like that. And I spent most of my time there down there, and I got to go to. They have two different classes. They have PHP one, PHP two, and I spent a lot of time in PHP two. And while I was in PHP two, it was great. A lot of that is learning how to communicate better. You know how to be assertive without being aggressive, and how to stand up for yourself without being, passive, uh, not being passive aggressive. And the other thing I really thought was cool is that, like, you don't have to over explain yourself. Like, you don't have to explain everything to everybody. I felt like that was a big thing for me. Is like I always felt like I had to explain myself. I don't know. There's like a freedom in that of realizing like you don't have to. Even when I thought, like, oh, I don't have to explain myself, but I still would do it. It's just some of those things you don't notice that you're doing until you get to really sit down and look at it. And you're like, oh, well, I totally am doing that. Yeah, like I said, really looking forward to this next little chapter. It's been a little hectic with the beginning of this quarter, so I'm going to be banging out some more content. It's been a little dry. I'm sorry for that. It is what it is. Like I said before, I try to post at least a reel every day. But sometimes life happens. It's more important, and that's kind of where I've been at. So I absolutely love doing this podcast. I don't know how else to put it besides this is like therapy for me. It's like therapeutic. I get to sit down with people that I really care about, that I look up to in a lot of ways because of their courage to come on and tell their story. What the whole point of this is very much sharing your hope, strength, and courage. And these next three guests I have lined up, all three of them, I have a lot of love and respect for. And I'm so excited to see them come on and have a one-on-one with them and really getting to sit down and hear their story, because you get to hear people's stories chunk by chunk in the fellowship, but you don't really get to sit down and hear like that full story. And I'm excited to do so very soon. Working the steps has been something that has really gave me a freedom and
I've been learning so much more about myself by sitting down and answering some of these questions and really looking deep into those answers. For anybody out there that is still suffering, I truly do hope that you find the gift of desperation to find a new way to live, because once you do, it really is life changing. Like when you really do finally fully surrender that your life is unmanageable, you start to change how you view life. You start taking things you took for granted more seriously. It's just overall, man, it's just beautiful. I am more happy now being broke and shit than I've ever been making the most money I ever had. And it's not because of the money. That's not the point. I'm just using an example of that. It's purely about the content, you know? They told me that in the treatment center. You want more money per hour, do you want quality of life? And the quality of life is pretty kick ass, man. So I hope you find the same thing. For anybody that's listening, I truly do love you. I truly do give a whole lot of a fuck about your well being, your mental health, and I cheer you on. I hope for your success. So anyone that's out there, if you need help, please reach out, even if it's to me. If I can be a lending ear to hear you out, man. Shoot me a message. Send the podcast a message. Reach out in comments. I will always do my best to get back as quickly as I can to you. That's pretty much what I think I have for you guys this time. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Only Clams. And I will be back very soon with another episode of What the Clams with some of your special guests. Thank you guys very much. Much love, and I'll take another 24.